Hello and welcome to That Investing Podcast. I believe it's episode 23 and I'm joined again by my co-host Charlie Archer. Hi Charlie, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. We've finally got a bit of sunshine given it's the middle of August down in Devon. How are you, Simon?
Yeah, all good. I've got the blinds down because it's actually quite warm outside. But yeah, as soon as we finish this podcast, I'm going to go out and walk the dog. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also very happy to welcome back to the podcast Dom from Capital Plus Partners, but he's actually here with a colleague from LifeSafe, Neil Smith. Guys, welcome.
Good morning. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, Simon, for having us back. And it's sunny in London as well, chaps. But I haven't got a dog to walk, sadly.
No.
I did meet one on the train yesterday, though, a very large pug, which was fun. It made my journey much more pleasant.
Dogs are great, aren't they? Anyway,
They are indeed.
Good. And Neil, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, hi guys, great to be here. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, well, absolutely. We're honoured, shall we say? We're honoured. Can you tell us what LifeSafe is and why Dom and Neil, you're doing this business together? And there's some investment things going in here. We talked to you last time, Dom, didn't we, about your involvement at Capital Plus and the rest of it. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let you guys tell us what it is you do and why you've joined us today.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. I think it's really just a follow-on from our lovely chat on the last podcast about the travails, if you like, or the journey that we all go on as investors and how we pick businesses. And I thought that it'd be interesting today to pick up with Neil and sort of recap on the journey that that I've been on, that Neil's been on with, specifically with LifeSafe Holdings PLC, and hopefully give the listeners a bit of colour into the kind of work that we do, the magic that we bring, and all of that kind of good stuff to companies with great potential. So, I mean, just kicking off, I first came across LifeSafe in 2015. This company came to me looking for investment. And they had this incredible fluid, let's call it, which is what it is, that they've been developing that, on the face of it at that time, put out all fires. We all know how many different cylinders we have in our buildings, and we know which cylinder to use on which fire. I never knew. I don't know if you guys ever knew which cylinder to use. I mean, I don't know if you had the fire safety courses, but I certainly.
I've done about 1,000 of them. I forget every time, like I'm sure everybody else does.
And, it was one of those that came to me, that I thought, wow, this is a product that is, new, it's novel, it's changing an industry that hasn't changed in, 50, 60 years. It's solving a problem, for people to have a single fluid that puts out all fires. I thought it had great potential. So I decided at that time to invest. We invested about $500,000 at that time. But my one concern at the time around the company was, because it's an early stage business, was execution risk.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is, if you've got a good product, as Warren Buffett says, if you believe in the product and you think there's a great market out there, the only thing that can go wrong is people. And people is about expertise and experience of bringing it to market. And I naturally felt that this was immediately a consumer product. Immediately. I said, let's not worry about competing with the likes of, Chubb and Tyco and these huge behemoth businesses that make cylinders. Let's go for the lowest hanging fruit in the tree, which is, no homes, very few homes had a fire extinguisher. So let's go after that consumer piece. And my concern at the time was that the management team didn't have any expertise in that kind of consumer retail offering in their locker room. And why would they? They're chemists. So you naturally, there's no criticism of them. But rather than put equity in, I decided to put debt into the business as a convertible loan note. So that's the instrument that we use. A convertible loan note, for those of you that don't know much about that kind of an instrument, it's effectively a loan to the business that converts at an event. An event might be a further fundraising, it might be an IPO, it might be a conversion that, my convertible loan note was I was able to convert it at my choice, at the right time. And it comes with a interest. So it has a coupon, we call that a coupon. And the conversion price is a slight discount to the price that at the conversion event. And I think I think it was a 20% conversion event. But what that instrument allows an investor to do is to have a little bit of tension with the company. Because obviously if things do go wrong, having a debt in the business, it is you have more control over the destiny of where that company might end up going. And my investment thesis rang true in about 2018, 2019, when the company had failed to execute on its strategy. And that's when I stepped in to the business and became a director to protect my investment. They needed more money at the time. And so I was able to step in 19 and reorganize the pieces on the chessboard, essentially the management team. And I became a director. And it was, I think, Neil, it was in 2020 when we met. Is that about right?
That's right, Dom. Yeah. 3 years we've been working together on this project.
And I came across Neil because Neil at that time was chief executive of Fire Angel, another PLC. So that's probably why some people out there, are thinking, what's the relationship between us and Fire Angel? But Neil was the chief executive there, and he saw the product and thought this would be perhaps something really good for Fire Angel at the time. But serendipity came into play, and I think after a few lunches and me trying to persuade Mr. Smith to join the team, the good ship LifeSafe, that he eventually succumbed to my how shall I put it, my charm, and decided to join. And we had all that point converted the debt into equity, and so the business was then obviously nice and clean. And Neil was just a natural investing, person to take over the helm of the business, having come from Kingfisher Group and where he was, commercial director of Kingfisher, like B&Q and other brands. So had that huge wealth of experience from a retail perspective, and and that's where the journey started for real. Maybe Neil, you can tell us why you thought it was a good move for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we had a couple of lunches. The reality was, actually, I'd seen the product, and whilst I was at Fire Angel, and I'd never seen anything like this product. In the 5 or so years I've been in the fire industry, and so I shared with Dom exactly the same view, that there was an incredible product here, an incredible opportunity, but what the team needed was some real clarity in terms of strategic direction, focus, prioritization. And Dom and I, over one of our lunches, talked about our vision of the business, initially being as a consumer product business, but then that leading into wholesale industrial. And we just felt that the product was perfect in terms of digital, in terms of creating some really strong, engaging content. And we just felt that this was something that in a very, very traditional market that hadn't changed for many, many, many years, we could bring something new and exciting to the party. And we rebranded the business, we rebranded the product, and we launched our first product, which is the Stay Safe 5-in-1. We launched it on Amazon in the UK in August of 2021. Mm-hmm. And within a matter of days, it became the best-selling fire extinguisher in the UK on Amazon. And it still is today. And over the course of the last 2 years, we've taken the brand into North America, Europe, and into other different channels in the UK as well. So it's been an exciting journey, Dom. Yeah,
I think it also highlights that, from an investment perspective, that, founders of businesses, they're not necessarily always the right people to take it all the way, to the finishing line.
This is true.
And it's really important that people don't get, founders don't get distracted by that, in the sense that, it's all about putting the right people in at the right time. And, there's very few Mark Zuckerbergs in the world. And so look, it's a common theme in developing, high growth businesses. You agree, Charlie?
Yeah, definitely. One of my key considerations is I want to see an accountant on the board. right, of these high growth companies. Some of the others that I follow, Ondo, Insurtech, Tech Capital, Abingdon House, they've got really, really strong products. But when you're going for that high growth, it's really expensive, and you need to be able to ensure that you can sustain it. So having both the product and the finance sorted out, that's really, really important. Neil, you mentioned that you're the top product on Amazon, and I've checked, and you are. But something that I noticed, there seems to be a couple of copycats on there. Are they as good as the original brand? And surely if it's patented, wouldn't that protect you from there being copies on the site?
You're absolutely right, Charlie. There are other products out there, but we are unique. There is no other product like ours in the world.
Okay.
Right, our patents are protected, and actually we have insurance protection as well. So we will rigorously defend any infringements. But our product, and we've actually changed now. We've taken to the next level the new range of fire extinguishers. So we now have the all-in-one, which is again a patented fluid, environmentally friendly, non-toxic, that will put out 10 different types of fires.
It's incredible.
Aerosol, it's exclusive to us for the global, worldwide use within the fire extinguishing sector. It's fully recyclable, and the technology within inside the bottle means that we can actually, or the user can spray the bottle upside down at any angle. Now, we've invested over £5 million in this business over the course of the past 7 years. And actually, what was brilliant to see when we were launching on Amazon in the UK 2 years ago, there was an Amazon platform called Launchpad, which I hadn't come across before, Charlie. It was the first time I'd heard of this platform. And this was a platform that Amazon created to support businesses and brands that they saw as being, firstly, innovative, and secondly, sustainable. And when the Amazon team saw the Stay Safe 5-in-1, they put it through to the Launchpad team. It's an invitation-only platform, and we were delighted that actually we were invited to join, and we are the only fire extinguisher on Amazon Launchpad.
Very good.
So we were delighted by that, and that's a real acknowledgement
presumably.
that
That's
what
a big
we're
deal.
doing is innovative and hugely sustainable.
Just building on that, Charlie. I mean, the uniqueness is that we are the only plastic aerosol fire extinguisher in the world. That's the real uniqueness, and our fluid is is more effective than others. They copied us for a while. They had 6-in-1s and 7-in-1s. So we just thought we'd kill the journey there with the all-in-one.
So you take them down. So you just have a better product on the market for the same price tag, or even slightly cheaper in some instances.
Some are more expensive though. I mean, we've done a lot of price checking, and there's quite elasticity in that, so it's quite cool.
There is, isn't there? I mean, when you're on Amazon, often people go for what's cheapest, but at the same time, it's what's highlighted and what your product is at the top in the big orange box, and that's what matters. Yeah. Cycling back to the IPO process, I mean, 2022 was a bit of a bloodbath in London. How did you guys find it, Neil?
Yeah, I think it undoubtedly was difficult, Charlie, but we were absolutely delighted with the support that we had from the team around us. The team at WH Ireland were exceptional, and we've got a very, 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 very good product proposition. And I think even as we were seeing some downward pressure on people's disposable income, in a market in the UK right now where there are 26 million homes, and yet only 17% of those homes have a fire extinguisher.
Yes.
Well, I think people saw the value of what we're bringing into this very underdeveloped market.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you've gone after the retail market, and I completely understand why, given who you might be competing against if you went down another route. I mean, I speculated that it would be an interesting idea to try and go down the insurance route, like Ondo and Insurtech has done, to try to see whether, for example, having these fire extinguishers in every home, in every car, paid for by insurers for an insurance first model, would that not be more profitable, or is that too complex at this stage? Dom, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, we know Ondo, great team, great company. Certainly, yeah, we're in conversations with insurance companies all the time, particularly obviously for those that are vulnerable in housing associations, and we continue to lobby government. So it's definitely a channel that we are pursuing, and hope to bring some news in that regard in the near future. But it's obviously the great thing about digital though and Amazon is we're in control of our destiny. In the sense,
enough.
We have a data set that says if we spend £1 on advertising, we're generally getting between £3 and £4 back in revenure.
That's good numbers. Yeah.
And when you're punching in at a 58% gross margin, that includes everything, all costs. Then you've got some science behind the revenue and the profit that is reassuring. Let's put it that way. As the chairman of the company, and I think one of the reasons we went down the IPO route, even though 2022 was an appalling year, and I think we're still
really was
today in 23. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Had some interesting chats yesterday with some market folk, and although we're seeing some green shoots and we're optimistic for Q3, Q4, the markets are still awful. But at the time, the company had the opportunity to go down the private equity route, and we were offered private equity and PE money, and frankly, the IPO route was less dilutive to shareholders and stakeholders. So from that perspective, it was the right decision to make. I mean, obviously, we've been hit hard as a share price, and the market has treated us pretty badly in the sense that we've outperformed all market expectations at every turn. And yet we're half the share price we were when we went up, which is disappointing. But I think that if we hadn't hit those marks, I think we'll be in a lot worse situation.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I don't think it. Well, this is my personal perspective and not financial advice, but I don't think this is a company problem. It's a wider markets problem. It's not just LifeSafe that's been hit. It's many, many other companies in this kind of growth sector. I mean, I do find it interesting because I do a lot of marketing material for companies like yours, not for investing reviews, but elsewhere. And what kind of stands out to me is that you're spending, well, this is my opinion, and I'd love your comment, Neil, potentially, is that you're spending a lot of your marketing budget on Amazon, for example, because it will give you that return. But there seems to be very little material trying to market for the share price and for the investors and to get investors on board rather than just retail clients buying the product. You also want to get people investing as well. Would you say that's fair or not?
I mean, certainly from a marketing perspective, a consumer marketing perspective, as Dom says, we see a very, very good collaborative partnership with Amazon. I think it's important also to note, Charlie, that we have an account team at Amazon. So they help us navigate and optimize all of our various different marketing through their platform. But also we have the LifeSafe website as well. So that's a fully transactional website that we're driving traffic through from various different other social channels. Yes. I think from our perspective, absolutely, if we look at the performance of the business since we listed, we exceeded expectations last year. WH Ireland put out a heightened expectation this year of £6.5 million. Mm-hmm. We launched and announced in December of last year our new thermal runaway fluid, which addresses this global challenge around the fires associated with lithium-ion batteries.
Indeed.
So we've got an incredible story to tell. Yeah, and that's very much, my focus and Dom's focus, which is let's get out there and tell people about it. That's really important.
Can I jump in there, actually, Neil, on that? Wasn't there significant investor buzz around LifeSafe signing a deal with an EV brand, particularly around this lithium-ion battery fires, or was that just unwarranted conjecture?
There was real interest, Simon, and there is, because we announced our thermal runaway fluid in December of last year, and we did that in December because we attended Intersec in Dubai, which is the world's largest fire safety exhibition. And at that exhibition, we were able to show potential customers how effective our fluid is, not just at putting out lithium-ion battery fires, but the biggest challenge with lithium-ion battery fires is a phenomenon called thermal runaway, which is where the cells become essentially self-heating and they can rise to incredible temperatures. And the issue becomes, A, trying to put the fire out, but keeping the fire out. And our new fluid acts as a supercoolant. So not only does it very, very quickly extinguish the fire, but it also ensures that the fire does not restart. And we see this, and actually the conversations and potential customers and partners we're working with right now, it's not just about electric vehicles, because lithium-ion batteries are in e-scooters, and there's a huge amount, unfortunately, on a weekly basis, it seems right now, of fires caused through e-bikes or e-scooters, obviously mobile phones and laptops. So we see a really wide usage of our fluid. But it's a very different sales cycle, Simon. So unlike with consumer, I can change a promotion literally within 10 minutes. With selling into some large organizations, there's obviously testing that they're having to do of our fluid, with their suppression systems. It's a longer sales cycle, but of course, from our perspective, once we do that, then not only is it additive in terms of our revenue, but also it's beneficial in terms of our margin mix, because of course right now on Amazon, we're having to pay commissions on the sales.
Indeed.
And also the fulfillments as well. So actually the industrial angle to the business, which isn't those revenues and profits generated through industrial, are not contained within the WH Ireland analyst's notes. And they become very much about upsides, incremental to the business moving forward. So we very much see consumer continuing in this very attractive market with very low penetration levels of fire extinguishers. We continue to drive awareness and sales within consumer. Within wholesale, obviously, home insurance, I think Charlie's absolutely right. Great opportunities there.
I'm also thinking car insurance. Sorry to interrupt, but imagine every Tesla on the road or every e-bike on the road has one of these kind of taped to the bonnet or to the frame of the bike. I'm just speculating, but I think it would be quite an easy sell. Well, it feels like it should be, regardless.
It's an interesting point, because a good friend of mine actually is a station chief in the fire service in the UK, and he said, actually, Neil, to correct you there, it's daily these fires are happening with these e-scooters, and it tends to be the very, very cheap Chinese imports, which how they're getting past the UKCA mark is baffling to a lot of them. It's not so much being able to put the fire out; it's catching it as it happens. He said that it tends to be these batteries are charged overnight, usually in a residential area, not necessarily a garage where it can be more contained. He said, because when these things go up, and we've seen it, it's been on the BBC News, these things go up instantly, and it's catching them at the right time. So he was saying, because he knows I'm talking to you guys, and he said, well, they need a trigger. They need some sort of automated mechanism that's next to the bike or the battery that it catches it as it ignites. Because as you say, these things just absolutely explode. And like I say, they're all over YouTube, these videos. They're horrendous things. Is there any sort of technology that you could explore on that for it's all very well. Let's say my cheap e-scooter, which I don't have, is in the garage and it caught fire last night. I'm not going to find out about that until the smoke alarm goes off, or I'm sizzling in my bedroom, aren't I?
Yeah, no, it's a real issue. It's a real issue. And you're absolutely right, Simon. There are people who are charging the scooters overnight, and then suddenly it goes up. I've personally spent a huge amount of time at our development centre overseeing what happens when batteries are overcharged or damaged, and how quickly they take off, in terms of, and it is absolutely an explosion. So in terms of how we are commercializing our fluid, we're a fluid technology business. That's our expertise. And so absolutely, it is about working with the battery manufacturers. It's about working with suppression systems experts who can take our fluid and we work in collaboration and partnership with these incredible engineering businesses who can then develop a system, as you say, kind of like an early warning system, which could be heat activated.
Yeah.
Because about 150 degrees, the lithium-ion cells become thermally unstable. So if you can identify through heat that level of instability, then potentially you can prevent that fire from starting in the first place by a system that could then coat the battery or the cell, the individual cell, with our fluid, and therefore actually prevent the fire and the devastation that's linked to that. So, I mean, this is that's why we're so excited about industrial, and the partners and the interest and engagement that we've had. We're working with partners in Australia, the Middle East, the Far East, the US, obviously the UK and Europe as well. And everybody told us at the fire show they've got the same problem. It's a global issue, absolutely a global issue. So if we can be working with some of the world's biggest players with our solution, with our fluids into various different systems, then I think that's going to be, it's a massive thing in terms of saving people's lives and properties at the end of the day, and that's what we're about.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's encouraging to hear that you're actually working with other businesses, other technology providers that can, like you say, the suppression angle, automated systems, all that kind of thing. That's great, and it's obviously you're just starting your journey, really, aren't you? Dom said you're just chemists, but you're actually entrepreneurs in this space as well. So it's encouraging to hear, and it's only going to get worse, is what my mate in the fire service said. It's at least one a day.
Well, it's a growing market as well, isn't it? About how many lithium-ion batteries are made every single day in this country by 2030, whether you believe it or not. The current legislation is that every new car on the road is going to be an EV. There's going to be no more internal combustion engines. So the growth opportunity at the start, realistically, we're at the start of the market, is massive. I mean, one thing that I did notice, and maybe this is a question for Dom. So some in the US, some investors were claiming, maybe you can shed light on this, that the LifeSafe extinguisher, which you say is fully tested and approved, doesn't actually meet the regulatory requirements in some US states to be marketed as a fire extinguisher. Is this just completely incorrect, or is there an issue there?
Well, no, it's as ever that there is different shades on that point. The fluid, in some circumstances, there are no standards for a plastic aerosol.
Okay.
So in some sense, you could say that that there's some small amount of truth in that. But the bottom line is we are UL approved. So UL is the equivalent of BSI. In the UK, British standards. And obviously we've done all of our fire accreditations with the fluid. But a plastic aerosol fire extinguisher, there is no standard. So
there's nothing to measure it against.
No.
Issue.
Yeah, but we are super diligent about making sure we meet all of the legislation, all the rules, and we have all the right and correct tests and accreditations. And so in reality, there's no issue at all for us. And we're BSI approved, and I think we're APRA-Gas approved in the EU. And funny enough, in the EU, the aerosol directive means that our 250 milliliter aerosol, it has to be, what is it in the Europe, Neil? It's smaller. It's is it 190 or 200 mil?
Yeah, that's right, Dom. Yeah.
So we have to manufacture a smaller aerosol for the European market, but that will change over time. But I think going back to the EV point and the lithium-ion point as well, and the point about have we been particularly good or diligent at marketing the share story of LifeSafe, and picking up a bit on that, we've been really conservative about our story, our narrative to the market. And what we've said, Charlie and Simon, is that we're going to be profitable by the end of this year on a month-on-month basis. And the consumer marketplace is all the numbers are all about the consumer place. And we're driving those, and we want to get to that point. And we think that's a really important inflection point from an investor perspective, that you turn that corner. But anything that we do within lithium-ion, we want to make announcements that have meaning, that have absolute market meaning. So here's a contract, and here's what it means in terms of revenue and profit. It's not just like, we're not going to throw out names there and saying we're talking to these people and those people. So hopefully once we've got once we are able to make sort of meaningful announcements around our lithium-ion approach to the market, which we hope is soon, then we will start to follow that with obviously advocacy and press, and we will start, pushing out the investor channels, quite hard. So hopefully that will bring the story into investors' minds.
Dom, do you mind me asking? So in the trading update in early June, while we're on the finances, the revenue went up by 200% year over year, which is great. But you also took on an additional 250 grand trade facility. And I believe additional finance details came out last Friday. Can you give us a kind of overview of the financial position?
Yeah.
As you approach profitability?
No, absolutely. And so when we listed the company, the market suggested that this year would be a £5.5 million year. The analyst at WH Ireland, great analyst Nick Spodier, he upgraded the current financial year to 6.5. But when we did the IPO, we raised sufficient funding at that point in time to finance and cash flow effectively a £5.5 million year.
Mm-hmm.
What we have said to the market since then also is that we're currently in this year ahead of expectations. So read what you will into that.
Okay.
But we had this situation where, from a cash flow perspective, we are manufacturing our products in the UK and we're shipping it to the US.
Right.
Now, 68% of our revenue came in half two last year, and a lot of that was in Q4. Okay, so we're definitely half two weighted in terms of our revenue. And effectively, we got to that position. We knew it in May and June that we were going to need further funding to fulfill the demand that we're seeing in North America, particularly for half two. So it wasn't great because obviously, we're not happy with the share price, but we to fund that growth and to fund us through to profitability, we had to raise. I think we raised about 1.1 million last week at market. I'm very pleased though that we brought in some great new shareholders, institutions into the book. So Guinness have come in, and also Canaccord have come in alongside Premier Miton with Gervais there.
The names you want to hear. Yeah.
And Dowgate played big. So great institutional names, long-time holders, supportive shareholders and investors. And so we're glad that we were able to attract that. And for me, the company's at that wonderful inflection point that you've got a product that's proven. You've got patents and protection on it. You're generating revenue, and you're at that cusp of profitability. And in terms of the market size and opportunity, the consumer market size is enormous in its own right. But when you start looking at this company's ability to disrupt a global fire extinguishing industry, where legislation is moving in our direction, where certain fire extinguishing products are beginning to be banned because of their toxicity. So legislation is moving in our direction, and because we're environmentally friendly, non-toxic, and it's a very novel way of approaching fire, there's a huge opportunity. So no, we're pleased that we did it, but it was really out of necessity because of the trading profile that we're seeing.
Solid answer. I mean, one of the last questions that I have actually is for Neil. So investors have concerns about connections between LifeSafe, Fire Angel Safety. How would you answer those?
I think in terms of Fire Angel, my background, Fire Angel, I brought in some ex-colleagues into the business to strengthen, actually, from a finance perspective, Charlie, and also to really accelerate our digital strategy as well. We are very, very confident indeed in terms of our products, our strategy, the progress we're making, but we're certainly not complacent.
I think just to build on that, I mean, we're always going to see competitors, Charlie. It'd be strange if there wasn't in that regard. But as Neil says, we invest a lot in research and development still. We are building new fluids for new fire types. And the way we see the future of this business is a bit like, I don't compare it to medicine, but it's like personalized fire extinguishing fluids. So, certain environments will require different tweaks to our product to tackle fires that are more likely to occur in that environment. And I think we can certainly, with our fluids, we have the ability to really tweak and personalize its ability to tackle certain fires.
It's interesting that you mentioned, just going back on it, how you're weighted towards H2. I would consider this a defensive product where demand should stay stable throughout the year. Why do you have any ideas or any insights why sort of Q4 in particular is a quarter where more and more people? Well, is it a Christmas present? Maybe, I don't know.
I'll let Neil do that one.
We are seeing, as Dom says, 68% of our sales last year came through the second half of the year. The great thing about our product is that it's relevant all year round, because right now, even though it's a little bit cloudy in North Wales today, actually, we're seeing some real success with barbecues. It's barbecue season, and then over the course of the next couple of weeks, it's back to university.
Indeed.
And then I think as we naturally then in the UK, we've got bonfire night clocks going back, and we were surprised last year when actually sales in December continued above our expectation, because, who'd have thought it? But actually a fire extinguisher was a Christmas gift last year.
Well, maybe it was.
Which is incredible. But long may it continue.
Excellent. Well, I'm kind of out of questions. I think you've addressed pretty much all the investor concerns that I've managed to find, that I've come up with by myself between the two of you. It's really great to have you both on at the same time, because there's going to be information there that one will have and one won't. Simon, do you have any other comments to make at all?
No, I've already put my 2 pennies in. I think actually, guys, you need to be on stage with Elon Musk the next time he presents the new Cybertruck or a new car. Hope it catches fire, and you run on stage with your all-in-ones and go, yes.
Do you remember when he demonstrated the Cybertruck? And it's probably a publicity stunt, and he was saying how, the windows they can't be broken, and he smashed them. You just book tickets to the front row and just wait for the battery to explode, and bam, in. Instant $1 billion company.
Oh, there you go. That'd go viral quickly, wouldn't it?
No, 100% wouldn't it? I mean, you need to wear like LifeSafe or Stay Safe like T-shirts, right? And just go for it. But I think, I genuinely do believe, I think my personal view of the company, as someone who's consider investing, it's a retail product that you have on Amazon, and that's going to provide the initial profitability, but it's that insurance route and going after the EV market and the, as you say, the e-scooters and the e-bikes and that kind of like wholesale side of things is where the real growth will come in the next few years. But again, this is just my impression from what you guys are saying, but I could be off the mark.
Not investment advice either, Charlie.
No, not at all.
Good lad.
No investment advice.
Thank you for that. So, guys, where can people find out more about your products? What's the best website?
Yeah, so if you look on LifeSafeTechnologies.com, you'll see everything you need to know about the company. You'll see some of the videos as well. And there's also a link through to LifeSafeIndustrial.com, which is our website focused on our industrial fluids, the first of which is the thermal runaway fluid. So people can see that product in action there as well.
Yeah. Okay. And if they go into Amazon, they search for the Stay Safe extinguisher, and that's the flagship product you can buy on Amazon, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Perfect. Well, that was absolutely fantastic, guys. Very, very interesting. We got a lot of conversation going there. Charlie obviously asked all the intelligent questions. I asked all the stupid ones. Guys, thank you very much.
Questions, Simon.
Neil, great to meet you. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. Thank you, Charlie.
Cheers, Dom.
Simon, Charlie, speak soon, and hope gave some insights also in the journey that
absolutely
investing in early stage companies is all about. So
absolutely,
take care, guys.
Keep in touch.
Bye.
Cue the music. Thank you for listening to That Investing podcast, brought to you by the team at Investing Reviews. Check out our latest stock market news and analysis at investingreviews.co.uk. You can also find us on Twitter and LinkedIn. Just search for Investing Reviews.